Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another edition in our Zoom interview series as part of LGBT History Month with Wolds Pride. Now today we're only doing an audio, it's a special different kind of version of our interviews, but I'm sure you'll relate to it and enjoy it nevertheless. And today we have got someone I know very well. In fact, they've known me for 26 years of my life because it is my mother, Diane Tipping. Hi, Mum.
Hi, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Are you?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Good. Now, obviously, I know you very, very well because you are my mother. But for those who are listening who don't know you, perhaps, could you just do a quick introduction of who you are?
Okay. So, hi, everybody. And I'm really happy to be here to contribute to the LGBT Forum for History Month on Wolds Pride. Yes, I am Diane Tipping. I'm Adam's mum. Very proud mum. Loud and proud, I guess, and yeah, very strong ally for LGBTQ+. I'm really happy to take part, yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. So I think people who are listening to this are really going to relate to elements of it in the interview, and I hope that by listening we might encourage people to have those open-minded conversations with their parents and families. Perhaps if they don't have that kind of relationship, perhaps this little talk between us two might inspire people to do so. So fingers crossed people can get something from this. So looking back in the history books, and this is actually quite an emotional chat for me as well, because this is something we've talked about briefly, but not in this detail. So this is going to be a bit of a roller coaster for us too as well, I think. Looking back in the history books, did you have any indication that I was gay when I was younger?
I mean, I've always said to you that I've always known that you were gay, but having said that, looking back seriously, I suppose at the time I didn't sort of put the clues together that you were gay. There were just signs that you always liked your fluffy slippers, kitten slippers or bunny rabbit slippers. You had an absolute penchant for earrings and tiaras, and a tutu, I think, at one stage of the game came into play. I did look for photographs, but hey ho.
Probably best they stay hidden somewhere.
I'll save those for your wedding day, darling. Yeah, you were always wanting to dance and perform. You were always doing little plays with your friends. Most of your friends were girls, not that, but that, I suppose, was possibly a sign that you related more to females than males. You were never a boyish boy at all. You hated getting dirty.
Still do. Still very much do hate getting dirty.
Yeah. Flynn takes after you as well, I think. Anyway, you loved playing with Sylvanian families. You loved like Disney mini kits. I can remember having a Cinderella's castle the castle that is at Disneyland, of course. Pooh Bear's treehouse with all the little characters that went in it. There were so many of those, and I can always remember how careful you were about not losing any of those little characters. The only one I ever remember you losing was the lobster from The Little Mermaid. So,
poor Sebastian.
Yeah, that was quite gutting actually, because when we moved house we had to search everywhere for this little lobster, but he never actually turned up. So putting all those things together in the past, I guess the clues were always there that you were gay, but it was never an issue really. It wasn't kind of thought, shock horror, my boy's gay. It was never that. It was just who you were. Yeah. It was just your personality coming through.
Just little breadcrumbs along the way that, little hints really, wasn't it?
So quite a dramatic character through your life, always have been. Temper tantrums were quite prevalent. during the growing up years.
Yeah.
I remember several times, well, you'd storm off and I'd yell up the stairs, and don't slam that door.
And Lord and behold, the door would be slammed.
Yes. The were signs that you were gay. It was never ever an issue at all.
I was going to say, the next thing I wanted to ask you actually was there anything that you... Are those no issues with me being gay? Was there any moments where you thought, oh, he's not going to have that traditional wedding, or he's not going to have traditional children, or that kind of thing?
Well, that's something else that we have talked about, isn't it? The fact that you are gay doesn't prohibit you from wedding, from marrying your life partner. Doesn't prohibit you from having children at all. And I hope that those things do come true one day, very much so. I don't think it was ever kind of an issue with those, that you wouldn't be able to live a full sort of life. That was never kind of anything that occurred to me.
No restrictions or limitations?
I didn't see that there would be any limitations or anything. You're not that sort of a person, Adam. You certainly aren't one to sit in the background and let life rule you. Maybe it's because you have had such acceptance that you feel confident in yourself to go about and do things, and to be loud and proud, that nobody has ever tried to, don't do that, stop being so calm, stop being so effervescent. Nobody's ever kind of done that and said that, and obviously because of the work that you've gone into in musical theatre and performing in general, that has come to the forefront, and it has been encouraged. So, and that is your true personality.
What's
I think I've always said to you that being gay it's just a part of who you are. It's not relevant from the day that you were just Adam, or the day that you became Adam who is gay. Those days kind of blurred into one. It was like, you're still the same person, you're still Adam, you're still my son, I still love you. And some ways I look at it, I think I've been truly blessed, because I have a son, I have a daughter, and I have a rainbow child. And I think, to me, I can embrace the full spectrum of life through my 3 children.
Oh, I love being the rainbow child. I'm going to wear that title with pride from now on.
You're definitely my rainbow child, bringing sunshine and happiness.
I try to.
Little sparkles.
Try to.
I think looking back, sometimes you struggle probably more with being gay, or coming out as gay, identifying as gay, than I did. I remember you having girlfriends at a time.
Very long time ago.
It's a very long time ago, I know what it is, but I do remember that phase of a couple of girlfriends that came and went. And then we had a phase where you decided that you were bisexual, which caused you an awful lot of angst at the time, I remember, because you were getting picked on at school about it, and people were calling you bisexual and gay and all the rest of it. But the bisexual thing never really struck with me. I didn't think that you were bisexual at all, because the girlfriend certainly didn't last.
Yeah. I think it was it's that natural progression, I think, for some people I know at the time it felt easier, and like I would receive less negative response if it was that bisexual step rather than coming out as fully gay. And I think it was that environment at school. I mean, I came out at probably about 15 years old, so about 11 years ago. And it was that surrounding environment, that the school hallways and the playground could be a dark place sometimes. And I think it was a step in the right direction, but it was just trying to protect my own feelings, really, that bisexual step. But I guess I always knew I was gay. It just felt like I was protecting myself, really.
Which I fully understand. I mean, it's kind of a lot of peer pressure at that age to kind of conform. And saying that you're full out gay, it's like being a pink rose in a field full of dandelions, I suppose.
Sticking out like a sore thumb, really.
Exactly.
And at that age, I think at that age, people love to project their own insecurities onto other people. And I think because there's so many hormones flying around at that age, people do that quite frequently. So being that character that is in a minority group, I think, you're a target, really. You've got a target on your back.
Yeah, you were an easy one to pick on, basically, which, like you say, it just shows their insecurities and their ignorance, as opposed to anything wrong with how you were behaving, because it wasn't wrong at all.
Yeah. Thinking about your upbringing, we've talked a bit about my experience growing up in high school and when I was younger, but obviously when you were growing up, it was more of the time of the 80s and the AIDS crisis. We had Section 28 and that kind of era. Can you talk a bit about your experience in that time, and perhaps did those things like the AIDS crisis create any worry or towards the way I might live my life or being a member of the community?
I mean, obviously I was in my 20s in the 80s. This very well. I remember all the negativity and fear stirred up by government adverts on the television. There were always poster adverts in bus shelters, etc., about AIDS and it'd be a death sentence, etc. And at the time, yes, it was a death sentence. But there was an awful lot of fear and
uncertainty.
Fear and ignorance, really, basically, because it was kind of, although obviously homosexuality is not anything new, it's always been around, but it was something that was frowned upon very much so in those days, especially when AIDS became prevalent, because obviously the gay community were blamed for it.
It's having that target again, just like my high school experience. It was that easy target.
Communities always look for the weakest ones to pick on, don't they? I mean, I suppose that's the historical thing too, isn't it? That those that are privileged and well-to-do always need to have a whipping boy to take things out on, sort of thing. And I do remember at the time Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, and she was obviously totally against the education of children in school about gay communities, etc., saying that children needed to be protected and to be brought up in a normal environment, a normal family, which to them is mum and dad and 2.4 children and a Labrador. But that's not necessarily a normal family. Well, I don't know what a normal family is, actually.
I don't think anyone has the answer to that.
No.
And that's a beautiful thing, I think. It should be something that's celebrated, but back in those days, it was a big issue.
There was an awful lot. I suppose at the time I didn't really take much notice of it, the Section 28 thing particularly, because like I say, I was in my 20s, I was nursing at the time.
And you'd finished school?
I'd finished school, I was working. When I was 26, I went to live in Australia for 4 years. So the Section 28 thing in particular didn't really influence me in any way, because it wasn't anything to do with my education. I didn't have children that were going to be affected by whether they should be taught about homosexuality or anything like that. So, I mean, I had friends that were gay or lesbian, and it just never occurred to me that I would think, oh, I'm going out with Shane tonight, he's gay. It was just, I'm meeting up with Shane for a few drinks tonight. It wasn't, I never saw somebody as gay or lesbian, or they were just Jane or Sue, or, you know, it didn't occur to me really that I don't like to label people. I guess because I worked so long as a learning disability nurse, I don't like people being identified as a syndrome or
in a category or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like people being pigeonholed at all. You're just you. We're all different. We're all unique. We all have our good points and our bad points. And for anybody to say that they're better than somebody else, it's just totally wrong. I mean, we're not. We are. Thank God, we're all different.
Yeah.
So
a very boring world without that. If we weren't.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the AIDS crisis was absolutely dreadful. And to see it portrayed now so honestly in It's a Sin, really sort of brought back an awful lot of feelings and emotions that I'd long forgotten about. Obviously, it's like 35, 40 years ago. And feelings that I'd forgotten I had experienced. And realising the division that was there at the time, and I don't think I actually noticed it.
Yeah.
Because
I think a lot of people have that effect on a lot of people, I think, looking back, and a bit of a reality check, I think, for some people.
I hadn't realised myself at the time how brutal people could be to basically people that were my friends.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't like that, and I could sort of thought I didn't really experience it when I was out with them, but to actually realise what they must have suffered was a real eye-opener for me, because it wasn't something they ever discussed with me. And seeing it in such graphic images on the programme must have brought things home to an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's been a very valuable series to have been shown, very educational, very informative.
I think it speaks volumes that it's the most watched. It's 6.5 million people over has been viewed it. So I think that speaks massive volumes for the success of it. I
think also at the time, people like Princess Diana played a massive part in reducing ignorance and fear. By working with the Terence Higgins Trust in London, I think she did wonders to reassure people that about going visiting AIDS patients in hospital and holding their hands and just talking to them without all the protective gear and everything. Kind of reassured people that okay, a princess can do that, then perhaps we are overreacting to this, that maybe they are just real people anyway, and not some sort of a virus in human form.
I think having that figure, that public recognised figure, especially in the royal family, I mean, you can see why it caused that controversy, but I think, again, like you said, it was probably a big beacon of hope for some people, and a bit of an eye-opener. It's fantastic. Before we let you go in today's interview, I'd just like to summarise, is there anything for anyone who is listening and perhaps they want to come out, perhaps, or they're having confused feelings about their gender identity or their sexual identity, and they feel perhaps they don't know whether they should talk to their parents or they're not sure what to do, is there any advice you would give them as a parent yourself?
Yeah, the only thing that I would ever say to anybody is be yourself. Be proud of who you are. Don't let somebody put you in a corner and pigeonhole you. Always find somebody that you can talk to if you don't feel that you can talk to your parents, maybe your friends, maybe an auntie or an uncle. There's always somebody there that will listen, maybe a school teacher. Often drama teachers or music teachers are quite open for discussions, but never deny who you are. In any way in life, never deny who you are. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you've come from. And at the end of the day, if you lose people around you by having the confidence to be who you are and admit your feelings and your identity, if you lose those people, then they're not worth having around.
Yeah.
If you lose friendships or even family relationships, then it's their loss. It's not your loss. they're the ones that are losing out on the opportunity to share something, share a fantastic relationship. And I feel so sorry for those that don't want to experience it or are frightened to experience it. It's just the same person that they were yesterday. Just because they've now come out and said, I'm gay or I'm bisexual or pansexual or whatever, it's still the same person. One thing that I would always, like I say, I think the most important thing in life is just to be true to yourself. We only have one life, and it might seem that it's a long time, but actually it's not.
Yeah.
Having reached the lovely age of 61, it's like, where on earth has it all gone?
Yeah.
So always, always be true to yourself. Follow your dreams, follow your heart.
And
find love.
Yeah.
Love is love.
Surround yourself with those people that celebrate that love and celebrate who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, this has been delightful, very eye-opening for me, and I'm sure a lot of people listening will be able to relate to things we've talked about, whether it's the AIDS crisis or that relationship with their parents as being part of the community. And hopefully people have enjoyed listening to our experiences and our a bit of our relationship. So thanks for joining me, Mum, and I'll speak to you later on.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me.